Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Rachelle. Hey, everybody. It's so good to see you today in THRIVEinEdu Facebook community, wherever you're watching us, whether it's on the Facebook community, Twitter. We're in the Alice Keeler Teacher Tech community today. We have the week of Daves this week. And the first day, we're going to have you guess in just a second. But Rachelle, how are you doing, Rachelle?
I'm good. It's Monday. I'm excited to have our guests today. We had a great conversation last week as well, especially on Friday. Always a lot of fun. Always great to see you. But I do want to say that I hope that you had an amazing birthday weekend celebrating. So
I did.
I wish I could have been with you, but
I know we were supposed to be together. It's so disappointing when life doesn't work out like you want it to. And it did suck because I accidentally forgot to delete the calendar when my flights were supposed to take off and everything. So I was reminded of all that COVID has stolen from me. However, I'm still alive. I hit my 40th birthday. The last time you saw me, I was 39, and here I am in all my 40th glory. Do you like my outfits?
I do. I was curious because I never know what to expect in any way, shape, or form whenever we go live, what will happen. And the one day, Halloween, I was surprised with I Don't Care Bear and you dressed as a unicorn. And interestingly enough, very similar to how you're dressed now. But I'm trying to see your shirt. I feel like you and I have a theme going today because we kind of have like the same. That's interesting. And I didn't call you and you didn't call me. Must just be the day.
Do we have the same shirt on? Holy crap. That's so cool.
Very similar.
And you are missing one piece of costume, I think. I think you're missing something. We have the shirts, but you don't have, come on, you got to do it.
Well, I don't have what you have on your head.
But you have something even better.
All right. You made me do it. Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
All right.
Gotta fix it. It's not like the cowboy hat from a couple weeks ago, so.
It's okay. It's even better. So hopefully you know which day we are having on today. And if you haven't figured it out yet, you probably have seen this guy all over social media. He has a best-selling book. He and his wife have their publishing company, and they are just amazing educators and speakers. They amplify the voices of so many. And today we have the privilege of having Dave Berger on with us. I'm going to pop him up. Hey, Dave, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you two doing? Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yes. Begging you for a while to come join us, so it's great. And I know we're dressed up and you're not. Does it feel weird not to have your pirate setup on?
Not at all. See, I think a lot of people think that I
Oh, man.
just look like a pirate and everything, but they don't really, but I always have it within reach. The bandana is always here, somewhere close, just in case.
That's beautiful. And sometimes you're sporting an earring, and I'm just curious, like, is that a real earring hole, or is it like just pretend?
Oh, we're going straight to the secrets right now? Wow, this is like,
Okay, sorry.
It's the secrets, yep.
It's a secret.
this is intense. All right, so here it is. At one point, I did have an earring in my life, but the earring that I wear for Teach Like a Pirate right now, it is, I'm embarrassed to even say this. I apologize, but I am currently wearing a clip-on earring for my Teach Like a Pirate presentations.
All right.
There's no shame in that. Listen, I was trying to figure out how could I get a clip-on nose ring today. I was like, how could I get one of my earrings? But none of my earrings work. So there's no shame in that. It's awesome.
None at all.
So go ahead. Sorry, Rachelle.
No, I was just going to say it's great to have you, Dave, and I hope you appreciate the hat since Melody made me dress up. Again, not really, no, but it's just fun.
I'll tell you one piece of sadness with your outfits. And so, Rachelle, I really appreciate the Teach Like a Pirate shirt, and I like the Melody, the DBC PirateCon shirt. But when I see that, every time I see that DBC PirateCon shirt, every time I wear my DBC PirateCon shirt, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. Like, we finally agreed to have a conference and had over 50 different authors coming to speak, and it was going to be amazing and fantastic. And it's just one of the, in the big scheme of 2020, it's a small deal, but yet for us here at DBC, it was very disappointing to have to cancel the conference.
Yeah,
I
I
know.
totally, and that kind of takes us to like a natural segue, kind of to the, and we'll come back to some work you're doing too. But you know, the COVID impact. So all of us are alive, we're healthy, and we have all of these. You know, we're grateful. But you know, the COVID has had an impact. I'm talking about, you know, I didn't get to go to Vegas for my birthday, which is really small potatoes. But you know, you're dealing with disappointment, and people might say you have everything, but you know, you still have that disappointment. How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, and so I think I heard someone in social media describe it. I thought this was a good way of describing it. Is even though we're all in the same storm, we're not necessarily in the same ship.
Mm-hmm.
And so, right, and so there's everyone is going through some sort of there's kind of a trauma over top of society right now with the pandemic. And so we're all kind of in that same storm of a pandemic, but we're not all in the same places, that we're being impacted at different levels. And that's kind of important to remember. And so that's something that we always, you know, we're grateful for the fact that we do have a ship, right? And that our business, we're book publishers, and so people are still reading books, and so we're still obviously in business, and lots of people have lost their businesses, and of course lots of people have lost their lives, but the publishing business is still rolling. It's maybe impacted some of our book releases and choices and different things like this, and then of course I'm a professional development speaker, and so I spend a good portion of each year out on the road traveling and going to conferences and going to school districts and schools and opening up, you know, like basically in August, I'm usually in a different town every day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I'm in a different town every day, opening up a school year for a school or for a district. And my last in-person presentation was March 13th.
Wow.
And that was, I was even surprised they held that, but March 13th was my last face-to-face presentation. And so the speaking calendar got wiped completely clean. Obviously, some have switched to virtual, some have postponed, but so that I've been a part of, you know, having to adapt and adjust and how to do a virtual keynote, how to bring that same energy and enthusiasm, charisma through a two-dimensional screen, and all these kind of things like this. We've had to help some of our speakers through some of that as well. And you know, the first thing we did when the pandemic hit is we dropped all of our prices. We brought our, you know, Kindle prices down to like $1.99 or something like that, and just tried to like say, hey, teachers need help right now. We have some books that we think can help. Let's just drop everything down and get it into their hands as cheaply as possible. And so that was one of the, you know, the first adjustments we made when the pandemic hit.
Wow, that's incredible, Rachelle. So like that's really incredible.
What?
So how do you stay
like laughing at me?
Yes, I am sorry, but Dave, how do you stay like so enthusiastic? Like I can even hear it when you're talking, and even though you're addressing everything, you've lost gigs, and then you've had to make them up online, which is not the same. How do you stay? What is the key that is helping you to get through it and stay enthusiastic?
Yeah, so I think it's about embracing the mightier purpose of why we do this. And so even though there are all these things going on, our job as educators is at least as important and probably more important than it was before, right? And you know, and I've appreciated seeing some of the like increased focus on the SEL, social emotional learning components of education, and and not just with students, but also with staff, and realizing, hey, let's check in on each other. Let's make sure that we're getting connected. And I've seen an increased spirit of kind of innovation, creativity, and connection, where all of a sudden educators who are so overwhelmed right now, if I hear one word most often from educators right now, is I am overwhelmed. This is the hardest year I've ever had as an educator. You know, maybe I talked to experienced teachers who are like, I am drowning right now with what's happening. And so we've realized that maybe we can't do this alone. We need to reach out. We need to connect. We need to draw from all these different sources, because I'm not sure anyone could do it alone right now. And so I really appreciate that increased spirit of connection that I see for educators.
Hey, Stacy, so glad you're joining us. Let us know how you're doing.
Yay. Yeah. And
Stacy, hi.
And when you say like March 13th, like that's the day that, I mean, the date nobody's going to forget, because the school's closed. And that was the last time I think I went in the supermarket was on Friday, March 13th. And it's crazy to think how much time has passed since then. And so many things were canceled, one of which, like you said, DVCCon. I bought the tickets like a year ago. I mean, a year prior to, like, as soon as you announced it, I was literally, I think I was at Bob Evans. I was eating dinner at Bob Evans. They were going on sale. And I was sitting there waiting, because I'm like, I am not missing out on this chance to go to this event. and see all of the speakers and just be in that space with everybody. Because for me, that's what all those events, the conferences are about. It's the learning, but just the chance to have those connections, which of course now we can't have those conferences in place. So we need to have something else to still have those connections. So I'm thankful for the tech that enables us to see each other, hear each other. And like you mentioned with social emotional learning too, that's key right now, setting that up for our students, but also for ourselves. So I'm like fired up now. I was tired when I came home. I was feeling overwhelmed, but I'm definitely feeling rejuvenated. So thank you.
Yeah. Like one of the things I tell teachers right now is like, hey, maybe the most important thing is not your next content standard. Maybe the most important thing is not making sure, oh my gosh, we have to make up for all this lost time from the end of last school year. Maybe the most important thing is just checking in on kids and making sure that we're creating that psychologically safe space for them. And in the midst of all this other, like I said, there's always trauma, but then now there's this additional layer of trauma on top of everything. And so, it's incumbent upon us to embrace that and to embrace our role in dealing with that. And so that's important. Now, I'll tell you something about that March 13th date, which is kind of sad, but the reason that I will never forget that date is because I traveled to Pennsylvania to do a presentation, and I had to get back that night. So I left the presentation and rushed to the airport and was flying back because the next day was Pi Day, March 14th. And I was delivering the eulogy at a good friend of mine's funeral on the morning of March 14th. And so he was a math teacher and they had planned the funeral for Pi Day. And then in the layover on the way home, we got the announcement that they had passed the restrictions about the sizes of groups that could gather. And obviously this memorial service was going to be way over that group number. And so the venue canceled the memorial service. And so it's a still undelivered eulogy to this point, still waiting for the time when we can all get together and have this memorial service. But that's why for me, I'll always remember this March 13th, the day before Pi Day.
Wow. Yeah, I do remember. Yes, I remember the loss of your friend, and I'm so sorry for that. And I hope that you will get to deliver the eulogy and respect, and everybody will get together to be able to pay their respects. That is something super important. And so your year kind of, started out in a heavy way. And so 2020 and COVID-19 is yeah, I think we were all hoping that 2020 would be an amazing year, and it kind of started out, and then it just went. Yeah, it went flat really fast. But Stacy says that she's doing well. She's blessed to still be face to face with her kiddos and still bummed about DBC Con. Yeah.
Oh, Dave said me too.
So bittersweet. So
yeah. This year did start off. It was amazing. It was a really great start to the year, and then so many. I don't know. I mean, the good and the bad, but trying to take away from all of the school closures and everything, focusing on what matters most too, like you say, Dave. And I was guilty of I got to teach them all this Spanish. It's the end of the school year. And how am I going to do this? They don't have the books. I'm like, wait a minute. We're not in the normal school year right now. And I need to make sure that they're okay. And finding out, I kept saying mindful of circumstances because I didn't know that some of my students were essential workers. It never even occurred to me to think that, because I'm thinking you're just at home. You have school and your classes, but no, some of them were essential workers. They were taking care of their siblings, had additional responsibilities. And I didn't know any about that. I was just focusing initially oh my goodness, I have to still teach, but all of this in the virtual space. And once I kind of focused on that, then I was able to definitely do better and pay more attention to that. So. Yeah,
I think it's given us a new lens, like a different perspective on our students. And the other thing is, I think it's forever broken this paradigm. There's this paradigm in education that change has to be slow. The things that don't expect people to change so quickly. This is going to take a while. It's going to take years to roll this out. Everyone tries to convince you that change has to be slow in education for some reason. And we found out that it doesn't have to be slow. Unfortunately, this time it was fast because of a disruption, which nobody chose. But it can also, leaving the pandemic and moving forward, hopefully at some point, we can agree that, look, it doesn't take forever to change something. We can do things that are innovative. We can do things that are creative. And it doesn't have to be a 2-year plan. It doesn't have to be a 3-year plan. If we think about things like anti-racism work or equity, social justice, stuff like that, it doesn't have to be a 3-year plan. We could change these things tomorrow, right? And I'm not saying that we can change the world tomorrow, but we could change what we do in our classroom tomorrow. We could change what we do in our school system system tomorrow. And so these are, let's get rid of this whole idea that change has to be slow. Basically, people were flying in their educational planes in the spring. They were pushed over to the door. Somebody opened the door, gave them a scrap of nylon and some and some string and pushed them out and said, build a parachute on the way down. And then they had to build a parachute on the way down. And that's what happened to educators. And again, we saw that spirit of creativity, innovation, collaboration, connection, and also a whole lot of messes. And that's okay too. That's part of it, right? And sometimes I'll talk to a teacher and they'll say, I just don't feel like I'm very good right now. And I have some students who are remote and distant. And I have some that are face to face, and all these things are happening. I just don't feel like I'm as good as I was before. And I say, of course you're not. It's a pandemic. You think you're going to be teaching the same, it's going to be just the same as it was before? There's no chance, right? That's an unrealistic expectation. You take what you can do and do the best that you can. You live up to your potential right now. You do what's the best thing. What can you do tomorrow for your kids? Don't think about the big picture. Oh, I can't believe that I'm not teaching how I used to teach. Maybe there's going to be some things that we take out of this pandemic, which will say, you know what, that's actually a pretty good practice. I'm going to add that to what I used to do. So I think we're going to see some stuff coming out of this where we'll have a teachers with an all new skill set, an all new kind of ed tech skill set that they're going to be able to now apply on a wider basis when we leave the pandemic.
I love that. And I totally agree. I think that it's pushed us into a place where we had to grow, or, we were going to fall flat. I mean, we had to grow. And in some of this change, we've allowed people to say the only technology that they knew was, opening their email. For years, we've been to those staff meetings where, we had to read the emails because people could barely open it. It's not like that anymore. We have new skill sets, and social emotional learning should always be on the forefront. And now we know that it always will be. It's so important, because if we don't have that, we really don't have anything. We don't have our students, paying attention. And even, this year, I'm staying home with my kids, and I see the impact of them, not being around their friends. It's been very hard. And so we have to create an environment where we're still getting to the emotional needs of our students. And you're right, especially with the equity issues. We have never had to stare down. See, okay, sorry about that. I mean, we cannot ignore it. Do you guys see me? Do you see me?
We see you now. Okay. Yeah, you were frozen for a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Melody.
All right. Well, anyway.
If you're going to freeze, Melody, what we'll do is the two of us will just talk about you.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Whatever. Okay. So we're kind of running out of time, and I don't want it to be completely serious. Okay. I didn't dress up so that we would only have serious conversation today. I want to go back 40 years ago to 1980, the best year ever that was ever invented. Okay. I want to ask both of you, who was the president at this point 40 years ago?
Ronald Reagan.
Reagan, 80 to 88. Right?
That's so. I knew that you both would say that, but the answer is wrong. It was Jimmy Carter. Reagan had just been elected, but he was.
No, that's right. That was a trick question.
Don't give us these trick questions.
Trick questions. Yeah. 2 to 1. Dave and I say trick question.
Yeah.
Okay.
80 to 88. I go 80 to 88 Reagan. There you go.
Yeah. Well, it was. You guys are wrong. Okay. Anyway, name who sang this song? A Woman in Love. It was a top song in 1980 by somebody completely famous. She is still. Do you know?
I could sing it to you, but I'm not going to do that to the people that are watching now or are watching later.
It was Barbra Streisand, A Woman in Love.
Oh, that's right.
I wanted to do a little bit harder because there was another number one, Another Brick in the Wall. Who sang that?
Pink Floyd.
There you go. Yes. Yeah. And also, who sang Another One Bites the Dust?
I'm blanking out on these right now.
What?
I can sing the songs and know all the lyrics. I just can't think of.
Another One Bites the Dust.
Can I Google?
Whatever.
Are you kidding? How about Alexa?
This is
Dave, you don't know this either, guys. I'm losing respect for you both.
Well, those ones are. Maybe we just didn't listen to that. Queen. It was Queen.
Queen. Thank you. Yes, it was Queen. Okay, I'm gonna take this a little bit easier for you. And those of you who are watching in the different communities, feel free also to join in. Okay, now, I I don't know if you know my favorite candy as a child, but you could get these anywhere. These are not politically correct in any way, shape, or form. What is this?
Those are
What
the
are
candy cigarettes.
These are candy cigarettes, and these were so on in 1980. Did you guys smoke these?
No, but I listened to you talk about them last night when you were on.
I just have to bring that up. It's terrible.
The powder sugar puff.
Yes, actually, it evolved. That was in the 1990s because I spent so much time at the ballpark, the concession stand. What was your all's favorite candy in the 80s?
For me, probably atomic fireballs.
Wow. I wonder if I have those.
Dang. I liked whatchamacallits.
Yes, that was the 1990s, so just so you know. But I do have a sucker. I think that it's a hot sucker. Okay. Oh, what about these? Okay, this candy, it's hot. It's hot and it's the color. It's red. You know what these candies are? And they're
Boston
cinnamon
baked beans.
No, Boston baked beans were very popular in 1980, even though they're disgusting. Red Hots. Do you remember Red Hots?
Oh, yeah. That was a trick question too.
It was a trick question. Now this one you can't. This one. Okay, here's how it sounds. Oh my gosh, I think I just gave you a clue.
Pop rock.
Okay,
Nerds.
2 colors. Nerds. 2 colors. What was your
Oh,
favorite
yeah.
flavor? What was your favorite flavor? Did you have one? These were my favorites.
I never ate those.
You didn't? Wow. Well, you guys are older than me, so probably you were like in college already. I don't know.
Okay. At any
I'm
rate.
just I know. I'm just trying to have some fun in here. Because it does get heavy, and we could talk about COVID all the time and talk about how it affects us. And it's good to talk about it, but at the same time, we can still have a little fun. I was just trying to bring that in. I'm hoping that other people are watching. Let us know how you are doing. And so, Dave, what is up with TLab? What are some of the talks that are coming up on Twitter? What are you guys having the horizon from DBC?
Yeah, so tonight on TLAP, we have Lisa Tobin, who's going to be hosting, which is fantastic. She's got great energy, and so that should be a fun chat. So 8 o'clock Central tonight, you can join us on Twitter for a TLAP chat. I'll tell you, one of the big pieces of news for 2021 is, I just put it in the latest email. I didn't say it was official, but it's kind of official. In 2021, I'm going to be starting the Dave Berger Show podcast. And so I'm going to jump into the podcast. It seems like everybody's got a podcast, and people have been trying to get me to podcast for years and years. And so I think I'm finally going to jump into the ocean of podcasting. So my show will start in 2021. I'm excited about that. Yeah. And we just put out a list of lots of different authors that publish for us that have their own podcasts. I'm an avid listener of podcasts. I love to listen to podcasts when I'm running, exercising, doing errands, chores, whatever it might be. I usually have my headphones on. I'm listening to something. It's usually a podcast, occasionally music, maybe like Hamilton soundtrack or something like that. But a lot of times it's a podcast. And so that's a big thing that's going to happen for DBC and for me personally in 2021. It's not just going to be education, by the way. It's going to be a little wider than that. And we're going to talk about all sorts of things. We'll talk about entrepreneurship. We'll talk about fitness. We'll talk about education. And we'll talk about lots of different stuff.
Awesome. That's so cool.
Sounds great.
What are some of the podcasts that you listen to regularly?
So I'm pretty eclectic. I have a good number that I listen to. So, for example, I have some like running shows and the kind of fitness type shows I listen to. I listen to the Tim Ferriss show. Tim's one of the best interviewers out there. You have to be ready for long podcasts if you listen to Tim Ferriss show. And they're often, 2.5 hours, 3 hours sometimes.
Oh.
But it has great interviews. I listen to the Rich Roll podcast, also long form interviews. And so, and then I listen to a good number of educational podcasts too. I just dropped today, by the way, my episode on Hope and Wade King's podcast. It's called the Real EDU podcast, or excuse me, the new EDU. Got that wrong. The new EDU podcast. My episode dropped this morning. And so it's out there, and we're talking about how to deal with toxic or difficult colleagues. But we talk about a whole bunch of other stuff as well. And so they can check out the new EDU podcast. Go to wherever you get your podcast, go to the new EDU, check out me with Hope and Wade King, which is super cool. And like I said, hopefully you'll subscribe to the Dave Berger Show when it pops in 2021.
That is really cool. Definitely. And I love that topic. I'm doing a chat tonight with the Alaska educators, and we're talking about social emotional learning and how we model forgiveness. So I think it's so cool. And And a lot of that toxic, I can't even say it, Rachelle, help me, toxic.
Well, you say it's toxic positivity, but I liked when you said positive toxicity.
Yeah, but it's real. And it's a killer. It's a killer. I can't wait to listen in. That is so cool. And then you have T-Lap tonight. Definitely. And so how long are your podcasts going to be? Are they going to be like an hour? Are they going to be short? What do you have coming up?
Okay, so I have an opinion about this that is like, because I talk to people about their podcasts all the time. People ask me for advice on their podcasts and all that. And so I have strong opinions about this. And so a lot of people think, no, a podcast can only be this amount of time or that amount of time. They're always trying to hit this certain amount of time. And here's what I believe as a listener, as an avid listener of podcasts, is if a podcast does not hold my attention, is not engaging, is not about a topic which I'm concerned with, I'll turn it off in 30 seconds. I won't even listen to a minute of a podcast that I'm not enjoying, right? But if a podcast is good, it's about something I'm interested in, it's engaging, and it's a rich conversation, I'll listen for a couple hours. And I might not be able to do it all at once, but I'll do it in segments. And so what's not so important is the length of the podcast, but rather that you're having cool topics, cool people, and rich conversations. And if you do that, then I think that it's okay for the podcast to be different, could be anything that you want it to be. And so my goal kind of is to maybe have some interviews that might be a little longer, but then also have some solo shows, which are a little shorter, maybe just me addressing a particular topic. And that's going to be more of for people that like those kind of shorter 15, 20-minute kind of podcasts. But then I also might have some more long-form interviews too.
I love it. That sounds so cool.
Hey, can I say something?
Heck yeah.
I just love what Dave just said right there, because it kind of validates the fact that I've been doing my own podcast for over a year, and it's me talking to myself. So
it's a good one, though.
They're like 15 minutes, and it's just people will say, "Oh, who do you have on your podcast?" I'm like, "It's me." Talking and laughing at my own jokes, and like, I don't know what I'm talking about. There's no edits. There's nothing fancy. It's just what you see is what you get, and that's it. So thank you, Dave.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I guess kind of like you get to people get to see you kind of processing through things, and I think that's a fun format for a podcast.
Yeah, it's how I reflect. It keeps me, going. So it's fun.
Hey, let's get super real here for a second. The 2020 life. You see me, I got this like black backdrop and all this kind of stuff right now, but actually I am coming to you live straight from the walk-in closet of the master bedroom. Here. And so I think that's always kind of like one of the fun things that we've seen too, is like where people are doing their stuff. And I know like CJ Reynolds teaches this class in his laundry room, right? And he has all set up. Yeah. And like, so when I do the virtual keynotes and things like this, if I'm in Hawaii at the moment. And so I'm at where we are in Hawaii. I actually use the walk-in closet of the master bedroom to do the presentations. So if I were to move this camera angle different directions, you would start to just see hangers of clothes everywhere.
I thought I was going to see beautiful Hawaii.
Yeah, that's that way right there. But
that's through the hangers.
That's through the hangers and out the door and out the bedroom.
Oh man.
Man, I'm jealous. Oh God, I'm so jealous. But yeah, it's good. It's good that you're there. No, I love it. And Rachelle, I want to say about your podcast, you have a great podcast. Your voice is also very relaxing. So it's good to hear your reflections. I like it. And
are you saying you put on Rachelle's podcast like before you go to sleep or something, like the Calm app?
I could. Actually, it would work very well.
So it's that kind of voice.
No, it's very soothing. You have a very good voice.
Hey, you know what? I have a connection with Rachelle that people might not be aware of. And that is I am the proud author of the foreword of one of her books.
Yes.
Yep.
That's so cool.
My first one. Thank you, Dave.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. I was honored that you asked me to write it and was proud to write it. And so, yeah, that's a connection that some people out there might not know.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That is really cool. Well, we are coming up to the end of our show. We are so glad that you came, Dave. And but before we go, I always ask.
This better not be an 80s trivia question.
You know what? We can talk about Melody because she froze, right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Can you see me now?
We can see you now. We were so close, Dave.
I was just about ready to make jokes about her 40th
why
birthday.
is this happening? Usually it's so good. Sorry about that. Do you guys, before we go, do you have any last words that you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure that there's a lot of critics right now of educators and what's going on in education with, I was talking to a person the other day, and they said, I'll tell you what the hardest thing in 2020 is with education is that nobody's happy. Like there's people that say, why aren't we face-to-face? Other people are saying, like, how could you be face-to-face? And other people are saying, like, this remote is horrible. Other people, no matter what you do right now, there is a contingent of people that are going to be upset with you. And so it's almost impossible to do anything to make everybody happy right now. And so, but just know that in the midst of all that criticism, there are also tons of people who are so appreciative of what you are doing right now for kids, and know that what you are doing is so overwhelming right now, and that what kind of energy and investment that you're having to put into your life as an educator right now. And so even though there's all these critics out there, just know that there's a ton of people, and all the way across an ocean in Hawaii right now, I'm one of them. I'm supporting you and just feeling really appreciative and grateful for everything that you do for students.
Love it. That's awesome. Rachelle?
I cannot possibly follow that up with anything at all. So just thank you, Dave, for being here and taking the time to talk, not just with us, but with everybody that's watching now and watches later on, because it is good to hear from you and to get re-inspired and to realize that, like, yeah, things are difficult right now. And the best thing that we can do is to keep pushing forward and with the support of each other.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was awesome. And we'll see y'all on Friday at Thrive o'clock. Take care, everybody. Bye.